shine from the city blackout.
So we're actually going to do the whole concept of bug out bags and various other aspects, but just wanted to introduce some military terms that again might be suitable for preppers. So what we're going to introduce is something a bit like a buffet, so you can come along and go, oh, I quite like that, or I don't like that. So that's effectively what we're going to offer, and as our good friend Chris is say, there is no such thing as wrong choices, there are just options. So one of the first things that we've got to really think about is, okay, if I am bugging in, but what happens if the situation alters? What happens if the government or the police lose control? What happens if the wider community then can't cope with the shortages, or things, there is a power play between groups, whatever, it's slightly irrelevant, whoever, but stones, rocks and petrol bombs, or people coming down your street, you know, if you've got a family and you've prepared for them and you've prepared to bug in, are you willing to die for your beans? It is a question you've got to ask yourself. So if you then open up that and think, okay, yes, I'm going to bug in, but what if that's no longer available? What am I going to do? It's not to be scared, it's just to give choices. And that's then down to the planning that you're willing to do, and that's based upon where the location you are. Now, statistically and throughout history, people do very strange things when they're frightened and scared, and so society can turn very bad, very nasty, very, very quickly. So you then have to think about, okay, so where is my location? What have I got to do? And then you've got to think about a plan. So what's going to happen if my first option is to stay where I am, I'm going to bug in. What is my options if I'm going to bug out? Am I going to bug out on my own? Am I in a city now? Oh, what else am I going to do? I'm in a rural area. Am I in a rural area now? And actually, I don't need to go anywhere because it's 20 miles to the nearest town. So again, it's location where you are. But the general principle behind that is an acronym that we utilize, and it's called PACE. So what's my primary objective? So that might be, well, I'm going to stay where I am. Or what's my alternative? Have I got friends, family, people I want to get in contact with, or bring them because it's safety in numbers when things go a little bit wrong? What is a contingency, but eventually also what is my emergency plan? Have I got to get away? And what is that security situation like then at that? So there is another terms that the military use, and it's called permissive or non-permissive. Permissive is where I can light a fire, the risks to me and my family is quite low. Non-permissive is the security threat's extremely high, and perhaps it's not that wise to be trying to light a fire. The other two terms is what they call soft routine and hard routine. Soft routine is, hey, everything's hunky-dory, I can have a tent if that's what I want and everything's great. Hard routine is, well, hold on, there's no fires, there's no flames, there's no lights, there is no heating anything, and it's a horrible situation to get in because you have to have really strong discipline trying to feed yourself, and mostly everything's cold and you're cold and it's raining. So those are the strategies you've got to think. So we then are into two realms. Unfortunately, most preppers in the UK look at the YouTube community, and we're starting to get advice from the American prepping scene because effectively, in my humble opinion, it's 30 years in advance of what we're doing. But some people are getting advice from people who live in Florida. Well, that's around the Med. We're on the same latitude as Hudson Bay in Canada. And you may have noticed the further north you get, we live in a temperate climate. It rains quite a bit, hence the rain. You'll need more equipment to survive in this sort of environment than you first think you will do, because survival and prepping is about logistics effectively. Where am I going to get more of the stuff that I need and my family needs? Food, water, and other aspects. Can I travel light? Can they carry a bag? What do we actually need? Well, the biggest thing that you'll have to take into consideration is, days like today, is thermal regulation. Now, most of us are keeping that thermal regulation by the food that we've just consumed, if you've just had lunch, and the water that we're drinking, and that's giving you this nice metabolic rate that's warming everything. When you're deprived of water and when you're deprived of food, your metabolic rate drops, and so you'll need more clothing. So a classic example is, look, even on a hot day, how many clothes a homeless person is wearing, and they're wearing quite a significant amount compared to everybody else, because they're not eating on a regular basis, or it's how much they can beg. So we're going to introduce what we call a two-bag principle, and this is for what I would suggest through my experience, and I spent just under 20 years in the military, of what it takes to be out there. So the military adopt what they call a line principle. Line one is what I'm wearing now. So what gear have I got on me? So have I got first aid and varying other aspects? And that's a lesson after this, so I'll be teaching that. But there's other equipment. So what have I got on me? Have I got things like a personal survival kit? Have I got means for navigation? Have I got means to, what's that? Food. But everything I'm carrying, or everything you see in the bag, fits in the final bag, which is what I would call a sustainment bag. In other words, a big bag. So what's the difference is a big bag and a small bag. So line one is what I'm wearing. Line two is a smaller bag. Because no matter how much equipment I actually need to keep myself alive, I'll have to do things on a day-to-day basis. So if I may want to go out and forage, I may want to go and collect stuff, or I may that this bag is far too big for me and actually I can't move very quickly and there's somebody chasing me, so I need to ditch it, but I'll need something else that I can just keep on me at all times. And I'm fast approaching 60. I'm not 20 years of age, so I'm not a fit young man able to run, 2 half marathons or a full marathon. And okay, a bit sweaty. What am I going to do the next day? 4 hours. Those days are gone, most definitely. So I need things to help me in that process. I still need the equipment, and people very often, preppers, look at it because these are the elements we're actually dealing with it. So this is sometimes what the Americans would call a bug out bag. So if you have a bug out bag, you're then looking at what's the environment. Are we in Scotland where it may rain a lot? We've got a temperate climate, 4 seasons in one day. Am I further down south like Cornwall where the summers it's 32, 35 degrees centigrade? So this is what I would call a bug out bag effectively, or the military term for that would be a line 2 or a 3-day bag. It's something that's going to keep me alive. It's not going to be very pleasant at all. I'm probably going to get cold, very wet, but hopefully I've got enough equipment to make it. So I'll start breaking it down for you so you can have a look at that. Okay, so one of the most important things is actually water, and 2 litres of water is a minimum as an individual you should actually be carrying per person, and water and food is extremely heavy. So I want access to my water, and something like a soft water bottle is quite good. This is what they call a Survivor 58, and it has a built-in water filter. So filters in water, best way to remember is it removes bacteria, viruses and nasties out of the water, but there still might be some elements left in there. To get rid of those, I need to purify, and there's 2 main methods of purification. One is chemicals, as in tablets, or the other one is boiling. But if I'm in a hard routine, I can't sit there with my pot boiling away. creating lots of smoke on a day like today, because everybody will know where I am. So a filter is a good option to have. And it's not a normal 58 pattern, it's what they call a Survivor 58. So it goes through the filter, squeeze it. So do you want to pass that around, have a look? They are a fantastic piece of kit, but a little tricky to get hold of. So we ourselves as a group have discovered that's actually a commercial version available. The downside is the filter on the bottle it only does 200 litres, where that will do 730. And these are from Water to Go, and they fit on a boxing bottle from Lonsdale. Although these are a little tricky to get hold of, they're a flexible bottle, and actually it forms a really good seal. So I can put dirty water in there and then squeeze it, and it will filter the water out. The downside is if I'm going to use something like this, which is readily available, I'll also need somewhere for the spare filters. So with 3 filters now, I can filter 600 litres of water. Okay, so as we said, purifying might require a metal boiling pot or something to boil out of. So again, do you want to pass that round? So the one I've just prepared. I'm only managed to make one. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, you can do that.
So again, it doesn't have to be a round bottle, but it can be something like a canteen. Titanium offers a great deal of advantage. It's metal, you can boil in it. Hey, there's not much to go wrong with it. So again, see.
So those filters, they fill it 200 and they stop working, or they...
So what will happen is eventually the filter system will clog up.
Okay, so it won't poison you, it will just, you won't be able to squeeze water
Yeah,
out.
you won't get any more water out of it. The problem then being if you force it through the filters because you're becoming frustrated with it or you're scared, you may get particles coming through that filter. So when it stops working, you don't want to be pushing it beyond its limits.
So you can't, like Sawyer has the thing where you backflash.
I'll show you what a Sawyer system is, because water is the most valuable thing for humans. So too much of it you drown, too much of it you get cold, but without it you're going to die very quickly. So as our colleague said, for line 2 I always push in my main water filter system with that as a good backup, and so again I've got chemicals to filter it. I also then have a pre-filter system called a Millbank bag, and I tend to use the Sawyer squeeze, and again it's a filter system. I do like the Sawyers because you can then squeeze the water through, and then you can also add the chemicals. So there's, I just put them in there. Because when you're putting your purification tablets, you don't want to be trying to get them out. So the ones that you buy, you should try and go for the size. So I stick with a 1 litre bottle. Russ might then opt for a 2 litre bottle. Well, that just means I can pop 2 tablets in there, I know. So it helps if you stick with something, a water system that suits you. So I've got my main water filter system. So that should, I know you've seen it. But. So also, if once the purification tablets run out, I might need some way of, one of the methods again is to boil. So I might want to have something, these are titanium tent pegs and they're in my main pack as well. I can then put those in, obviously take the strings out, have something like a meths burner, put it in the centre. Oh, it's in my hand. There we go.
Yeah.
Pour the meths into it, put the cup on the, so put something like the cup on the top, Nope, I just need to balance them out. Anyway, you get the general principle.
There you go, voila.
Yep, so put water in it. You could then either suspend it, whatever. But it's a quick system. It's easier to operate. We've just discovered these, or I've discovered these titanium tent pegs. They're very, very light. You can make your own. I've made my own in the past. Oops. And I always have steel pegs in there to do that principle. So if you're going to carry a piece of equipment, I want it to do as many things as I possibly can, simply because, hey, I've got to carry it and it's heavy. So I want it to do multiple things. Is that Jimmy? Yeah.
Those from the kit, aren't they?
Say again?
Those ones here.
Yeah, I made those. No,
No, they're smaller, but we nicked the idea from the
so
when we had those, yeah.
So I made those. I just obtained some of the tubing. And it's a couple of old bike tyres then that holds everything in place. So another method then, I know the Russians aren't very flavour of the month, but for centuries they have what they call, they do have a Russian name, which I'm sorry, I can't speak Russian, but effectively it's called a Russian ring. It's just a piece of metal wrapped around that fits around the cup. So you can then turn that into an instant cooker.
And a windbreak.
And it's all multiple windbreak. And for all those that know me, yes, they are 4mm holes. That's an ingoing joke. So that goes in the top there, and that's effectively, there's nothing else in there. So that's my main water then. I can't get away with much more. The other aspect is I'll need to thermoregulate, and for that I may need layers. So one of the things that I might need is also to stop myself getting wet. So Gore-Tex or some form of rain top, and you also might need to have insulation as well. So and that might include things like tops and bottoms. These are ex-military ones. They're fairly cheap and reasonable, and they're going to keep me warm in my waterproof gear in a day like today, and that might be enough just to keep my body temperature, stop me going into hypothermia, hopefully. The other thing that you'll go through if you're on your feet all the time is socks, and it's a really overlooked area. Change of socks changes your morale, changes your mood, and you need to keep your feet dry. Otherwise what you'll develop is a thing called trench foot, and effectively, if this is what I have and I'm trying to move away from individuals that are trying to do me harm, if I can't walk, I can't move, and if I can't move, I'm not going to make it. So looking after your feet is absolutely essential, and a good change of socks really helps. Some people, you can also get sock liner. Sock liners help get blisters, and they also stop getting hot spots on your feet. So you don't want to be starting your journey of escape to somewhere safe in a pair of trainers or Crocs. You need a reasonable set of boots to then start your journey. Don't get me wrong, I have my own Crocs, and I am a great advocate. Not great for running away from people who may want to do me harm, though. Not even in sports mode.
We've tried, and the turbo just doesn't work when you need it.
Yeah, or the little lights on it just give your position away, so it's not great either. I always like, if you're ever cold and wet, getting a hot drink down, into you just increases your morale. It is a resource that, if this is all I've got, I don't want to be using on a regular basis. So what's a free tea out there? Well, nettle tea. If you don't know what nettle tea tastes like, if you're running like this, it will become your friend or your enemy, or you'll hate it or despise it, whatever. But it's full of nutrients. It also props up your morale as well. So there's only so many times I can drink my Nescafe coffee or whatever. So, and you want to keep it dry, so for obvious reasons. No. What else is in there? Oh, yep, pair of trousers to go with it. The other piece of kit that I may have in there, here's a Gore-Tex bivvy bag, and these are heavily underrated. I would suggest if you're a prepper, you really need a Gore-Tex bivvy bag. Even on a day like today, if your tent fails, if you're, it wasn't a dig, and you're in one of these, a Gore-Tex one, it doesn't matter. But likewise, if I'm cold, I'm wet, I can get into it, I can just huddle under a hedge or whatever. I'll make it through to the next day, hopefully. Yeah. The other aspect is you need calories in, and you're running out of things. So boiling the bags, meals. I picked the Wayfarers ones. So Go Outdoors tends to do a 2-for-1 offer, or buy 2, pay for 1. So they're quite good. I can eat them cold. I could heat them up if it were allowed. The other aspect is having things like food already in your pockets. So snacks help. So I tend to like fruit biscuits, and they're always fairly good. And things like I think Mike's done taste test. They're actually not too bad, to be honest. Yeah, they're a bit gritty, but I'm getting enough calories to keep me. That's 3 days worth of rations there. If I'm, you're not going to be eating like a king or a queen. You are definitely going to be eating 1 meal a day. So you want to try, and it's a resource I need to spread out as long as I can. And effectively, you might want to go, well, oh, I need some fuel. So I've used a meths burner, and I need some way. So meths is an optimal fuel that I can use everywhere else. It works in conjunction with my main fuel system. So this is I've adopted now a 2-fuel system. So meths, and the other one is a gas burner. So that's my line 2 stuff if I ever have to leave my main pack, which has got all my sustainability equipment in other words, stuff that I can survive on for a long period of time. So our great American prepping friends would call this, I know, a bug out bag, and then they'd call this the bigger packs they'd call an inch bag, in case I'm never coming home bag. In weather like this, I'm not going to survive very long. I've got limited resources. I need a bigger piece of equipment to keep me alive for a bit longer. It's not going to be luxuries, but I need some way of doing that. And again, I said I'm 60, I'm no longer 20 years of age. I can't run 25 miles carrying a 50-pound pack anymore. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. So I need something to move that main pack with, and why not get a trolley? Yeah, it's something to give me an edge.
What's the weight of your...
It's about, that's about 20 pounds. So which is what, 15 kilos? Well, it's even less than that really, isn't it? Yeah, more like 12. The main pack itself, I've got down to 25 kilos, plus I've got other additional elements into it. So again, that's the introduction to a 2-bag system. If this was January and we were all sat here, it would probably be -5. This is not going to keep me alive. I'm going to have to do something else. So my main pack, I can detach the side pouches and then they zip onto this as well. So there's flexibility in the system that they have. So again, this is just a simple Berghaus Centurion. It's a 45 litre. People focus on the literage. What you actually should be focusing on is the length of your back, which fits you. So I'm a bit weird. It's all my parents and my ancestors' fault. I've got a long torso but short legs and arms. So ironically, I am built like a gorilla. So, So I need a 45 litre to have the full length of the pack, so it fits nicely on me. So I'm distributing the weight. If I get this wrong, I'm going to pick up fatigue. Is there any questions on my version of a line 2?
He's dying, aren't you? Can't get on with it.
If you're only eating one meal a day,
Yeah.
is there any thinking on when you should eat it and how you should eat
It's when you get a chance.
Whenever it's down to you, and whenever is depending on the threat level. And the other thing is with the boiling bag rations, there's so many manufacturers out there. Right? Try before you buy. Because if you just walk in and buy a job lot of them,
and you don't like them,
and then you find out when you're actually out in the Ulu and they all taste horrible, you're stuck with what you've bought. A lot of people have done that, but they won't put their hand up for doing it. We've all done it, right? And you know, it's just a taste test. Go buy one. If it's not, you've only bought one, then you can give it to the cat or the dog, right? And then you've not wasted 15, 20 quid on a load of them and gone, actually they're horrible. And then you can go back and just, like you said, go in and just, if there's a 2 for 1, just get one of each. Right, I'll have one of that and I'll have one of that. So many people in the British scene are like, oh, I've just bought 83,000 tonnes of, because the prepping shops are offering them at bulk discount. And the problem is,
it's the flavours no one likes.
It's all the flavours that no one likes that you're getting dirt cheap. There are a few videos out there that have gone down in the last 2-3 months with some very disgruntled YouTubers in this community that have spent 40-50 quid on, what did he say? I wouldn't give that to my cat, which tells you a lot.
I've bought vegan sausages.
So again, if you're carrying a piece of equipment, if you're carrying a piece of food, like Mitch says, it's something you've got to like, and you've got to. If you're relying on this, it's not just me though, because you may have a family that doesn't want to prep. Well, what are you going to do? This is the moral dilemma as you as a modern day prepper. Do I prep for my family? And if you are going to prep for your family, if you come to my house, you'll find that all my family have all the same gear. Yeah. That cuts down friction. I haven't got my youngest daughter and my son-in-law squabbling over who's got the better piece of equipment when they're cold and wet. And also, if they're not part of wanting to get involved, I'm making that decision for everybody to then go, this is the piece of equipment, and then I want to test it and make sure it's really worth. So I want it to work in all weathers. I want it to be effective. I want it to work. So that's a line 2. Are we all happy on that? I'll introduce my main bag, and everybody will then go, oh my goodness, hello.
Before you move from the bugger bag, it's a foil blanket and the Vortex boogie bag, and it's winter and got dry clothes at least. How would you survive?
It's well, unfortunately, it's due to thermal regulation. So this is where, people look at the hypothermia blankets, and they very often look at the very cheap ones, not something like, that was very close, the blizzard bags. The blizzard bags are much better than the cheaper bags. They only work because I have heat. The radiant heat that I give off as a human hits the foil and then radiates it back. If I've only eaten one meal a day and I'm cold, unfortunately, it's the same as wrapping sausages for the next day and putting them in the fridge. My core temperature will drop. So you have to be very careful with those foil blankets. I have one, but it's a little bit different because I like my gear to do multiple things. Okay, so that's my basic line to, hey, I've had to ditch my main bag, I'm going to run off into the distance.
Can I ask a second question on that? You mentioned, like, say, your extended family and the problem that most of us will face, trying to get them to engage.
Yeah.
And prep for those who never want to.
Yeah.
Is it the case that you've bought the stuff and that, and the hope that, God forbid you ever need it, this is what it's just going to be uniform across the board, and that's what they've got. But they think Dad's crackers still.
Yeah.
We've all done that.
Yeah.
Our house thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a regular thing.
It's a universal, it's kind of all of us here. But we run Most of our kit here is all the same because it works. Okay, some of it's getting hard to get hold of, but we'll make an effort. And it's then, if anything goes wrong, I can go to his Bergen and know where stuff is. I can go Rodger's, Rodger can go to mine, but it's all kind of, we help each other out. Sorry about that, fly.
So we reasonably happy, yeah, so that's the dilemma that individuals face. The other individual is dilemma that people may is that your family may not engage, and then there's a ring at the doorbell as all hell is breaking loose down the corner of the street because you've just found your family who never speak to you on a regular basis, or your kids who now are adults turn up and go, "Come on, Dad, save us!"
Yeah, that's a big possibility, isn't it?
Okay. Just so happens.
They're happy to mock, but they'll take the help.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah. Bit like older kids. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. So so I've also put a rain cover over this. This acts as two things really, because if we are safe and we need to go out, I want to take something like this. I want to take it with me to then get more stuff. So if we have to go out as a group on foraging, I may need to leave this in place. So it acts as a rain cover, but it also acts that I can hide it in the hedge, or somebody can stay with it and the rest of us can go out and look for stuff. So surviving, prepping is about logistics, and that's true of any situation where there's hostility. So, okay.
I'm prepared for anything, come rain or shine. From the sea